Doors of the Kelvorian Imperial Palace slid open with a hiss. The hallway before him stretched longer than a football field, lined with towering warrior statues whose obsidian eyes seemed to track his every movement. "Remember," whispered Commander Jameson beside him, "these negotiations are humanity's last chance. The Kelvorians have conquered 3 systems in the last decade. If we don't secure this treaty—" Marcus nodded, adjusting his formal diplomatic uniform. At 32, he was the youngest representative Earth had sent to an alien civilization, chosen more for his language skills than diplomatic experience. This was supposed to be an observation mission until the senior diplomat fell ill with an alien virus. "I've memorized the protocols," Marcus assured, though his racing heart betrayed his confidence. The cavernous throne room shimmered with bioluminescent crystals that cast everything in an eerie blue glow. At the far end sat Emperor Korvax, his silver exoskeleton glinting, flanked by 3 female figures whose features remained obscured by ceremonial veils. "The daughters," Jameson murmured. "Remember, don't make direct eye contact." As they approached the throne, the gathered Kelvorian nobles fell silent. Their insectoid features, the ridge-lined foreheads, the glittering compound eyes, made their expressions impossible to read. Emperor Korvax rose, his voice booming through translation devices. "The human delegation approaches. We welcome you to Kelvoria." Marcus stepped forward, heart pounding. He'd practiced this moment 100 times. A respectful bow, followed by the traditional right hand extended, palm upward, to show he carried no weapons. What happened next unfolded in slow motion. His foot caught on a hidden step. As he stumbled forward, his hand shot out reflexively. Not palm up, but palm forward, fingers splayed in what the Kelvorians considered the ancient gesture of challenge. A collective gasp rippled through the throne room. Emperor Korvax's compound eyes widened. "The human challenges Drosner?" someone exclaimed. Before Marcus could correct the misunderstanding, armored guards surrounded him. Commander Jameson tried to intervene, but was held back. "What's happening?" Marcus hissed. "You've just challenged their champion to ritual combat," Jameson whispered, horrified. "That gesture, it's a formal duel invitation. Can't I just apologize? Not without bringing shame to Earth. In their culture, withdrawing a challenge is worse than defeat." 3 hours later, Marcus found himself in a preparation chamber, being fitted with lightweight armor that seemed wholly inadequate for facing the Kelvorian champion he'd glimpsed, a 7-foot behemoth with chitinous armor and 4 muscular arms. "This is insane," Marcus muttered as attendants fastened the final pieces. "I've never been in a fight in my life." "The ritual is mostly symbolic," Jameson explained, though his voice lacked conviction. "Just try to last 30 seconds. That's considered honorable enough." When they led Marcus to the arena, the roar of thousands of Kelvorians overwhelmed him. The circular fighting pit was smaller than he'd imagined, perhaps 40 feet across, with no place to hide. Across the arena stood Drosner, their champion, beating his chest plates in a display that sent vibrations through the ground. "Begin," Emperor Korvax's voice echoed. Drosner charged. Marcus, frozen in terror, did the only thing his instincts allowed. He dropped to the ground. The massive alien, expecting resistance, stumbled over Marcus's prone form, crashing into the arena wall. As Drosner recovered and turned, Marcus scrambled backward, tripping over a ceremonial weapon stand. The ancient spear rack toppled, sending a decorative chain reaction through the arena. A suspended weight fell, striking Drosner's head with a sickening crack. The arena fell silent as the champion collapsed. 5 seconds later, Marcus stood bewildered as the Emperor himself approached, mandibles clicking in what the translator interpreted as amusement. "The spirits have chosen," Korvax announced. "As victor, you may claim your prize, the hand of one of my daughters. Choose wisely, human. The princess you select will be your mate under Kelvorian law." Marcus turned pale as the 3 veiled princesses stepped forward. Commander Jameson's face was a mask of shock. What?" Marcus stammered. "You have 3 lunar cycles to decide," the Emperor continued. "Until then, you will be our honored guest." As Marcus was led away, still in shock, he caught glimpses of the princesses removing their veils. 3 pairs of alien eyes, one calculating, one fierce, one curious, followed his retreating form. This diplomatic mission had just become infinitely more complicated. The royal chamber assigned to Marcus made Earth's presidential suite look like a college dormitory. Crystal fixtures pulsed with bioluminescent light, casting rippling shadows across walls adorned with what appeared to be battle tapestries. A massive bed, its frame carved from some iridescent material, dominated the center of the room. "This is where you'll reside during the selection period," explained Torvak, a Kelvorian attendant with unusually pale exoskeleton. "The princesses will each seek audience with you, as tradition dictates." Marcus paced nervously. "There has to be a diplomatic solution. I can't actually be expected to mate with one of them." Torvak's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "The choice is ceremonial, human. Whether physical consummation occurs is a private matter between mates. But choose you must, or risk insulting the Emperor." As the attendant left, Marcus collapsed onto the surprisingly comfortable bed. Commander Jameson had been confined to the diplomatic quarters, leaving Marcus isolated among aliens who viewed him as either a mystical champion or a bizarre curiosity. A soft chime announced his first visitor. The door slid open to reveal the eldest princess. "I am Thalassa," she stated, her translator rendering her clicking speech into crisp, formal English. "Firstborn daughter of Emperor Korvax, heir presumptive to the silver throne of Kelvoria." Where her father was imposing, Thalassa was elegant. Her exoskeleton had an almost pearlescent quality, and the ridges along her forehead formed patterns that reminded Marcus of a crown. She moved with calculated precision as she circled him. "You are smaller than I anticipated," she observed. "Most humans are smaller than Kelvorians," Marcus replied, attempting a respectful bow. "Yet you defeated our champion." She tilted her head. "The court whispers that it was mere luck. Others say the gods themselves guided your hand." Marcus swallowed. "I assure you, it was entirely accidental. Accidents can be fortuitous." She stepped closer. "Do you know what happens if you choose me, human? I am next in line for the throne. My mate would become imperial consort, with considerable influence over 3-star systems." Her compound eyes reflected his nervous expression. "Our alliance would cement peace between our peoples. A political advantage for Earth and for you." After Thalassa departed, Marcus barely had time to process the encounter before the second princess arrived. Where Thalassa had entered with regal formality, Princess Vera burst into the room like a hurricane. "So you're the one who took down Drosner." Her translator conveyed enthusiasm where her alien features could not. The markings on her exoskeleton were darker, with what appeared to be intentional scarification, battle honors, Marcus guessed. "It was an accident," he began. "Accidents don't happen in the arena," Vera interrupted, prowling around him with undisguised curiosity. "I've studied combat my entire life. What you did was instinctive, dropping below his center of gravity. Clever." Unlike her sister, Vera wore minimal ceremonial attire, favoring what appeared to be training armor. She was shorter than Thalassa, but more solidly built, her movements fluid and predatory. "I've fought in 17 ritual combats," she continued, "and commanded troops against the Nyx rebellion. No one has surprised me in years." She stopped directly before him. "Until you." Without warning, she grabbed his wrist, turning his arm to examine it with unexpected gentleness. "Soft. Yet you prevailed where armored warriors failed." "I really don't think." "My sister offers you political power," Vera said, releasing him. "I offer you something better, a worthy partner. Someone who respects strength, however it manifests." Her compound eyes gleamed. "Choose me, and I will teach you our ways of combat. We will hunt together, fight together." The intensity of her gaze made Marcus step back. "I'll consider it." After Vera's departure, Marcus expected the third princess to arrive immediately. Instead, hours passed. He had nearly fallen asleep when a soft sound from the balcony startled him awake. A slender figure slipped into his chamber, not through the door, but from outside, scaling the palace wall with ease. "They're watching the entrance," explained the third princess, her voice softer than her sister's. "I prefer more unconventional approaches." "Princess Alara," she supplied, removing her hood. Her exoskeleton had a bluish tint, and her movements were quick, almost bird-like. "Youngest, least important, most troublesome royal daughter. At least according to court gossip." Unlike her sisters, Alara's attire appeared almost civilian, with pouches and tools suggesting practical use rather than ceremony. "You're the first interesting thing to happen here in decades," she continued, perching on the edge of a chair. "A human who defeats our champion by accident, then looks horrified rather than proud? Fascinating." Marcus found himself relaxing slightly. I'm just trying not to cause an interplanetary incident. Too late for that. Alara's laughter translated as a pleasant chiming. But perhaps not too late for an escape plan. Escape? She leaned forward. Neither of us wants this arrangement. I've been seeking a way out of royal obligations for years. You want to return to Earth? Perhaps we can help each other? Before Marcus could respond, a chime indicated an official visitor. Alara vanished onto the balcony with remarkable speed. Commander Jameson entered, looking haggard. Good news and bad news, Reed. The good news is Earth Command isn't blaming you for this mess. The bad news? They're ordering you to go through with it. Maximum diplomatic advantage, they said. Marcus stared at him. They want me to actually marry one of them. They want you to choose whichever princess creates the strongest alliance. Jameson sighed. Apparently, you're now Earth's most eligible bachelor. And our best shot at peace. As Jameson departed, Marcus gazed out at the alien stars. 3 princesses, 3 very different propositions. The next 3 lunar cycles would determine not just his fate, but potentially the future of human-Kelvorian relations. And somewhere in the palace, 3 alien women were making plans of their own. 2 Kelvorian weeks into his stay, roughly equivalent to 10 Earth days, Marcus had established a precarious routine. Mornings were spent with Commander Jameson, receiving updates and diplomatic coaching. Afternoons were dedicated to cultural education with his Kelvorian tutors. Evenings invariably involved some interaction with the princesses. Tonight, he stood on the balcony overlooking the royal gardens, where crystalline plants shimmered in the light of 3 moons. A soft rustle behind him revealed Alara's arrival, again via the exterior wall rather than the door. You're getting predictable, she teased, landing gracefully beside him. I could say the same about your climbing route, Marcus replied with a smile. Of the 3 princesses, Alara's visits had become the most frequent and the most welcome. I brought you something. She pressed a small device into his palm. A translator calibrated to noble dialects. The court officials are deliberately mistranslating certain conversations to manipulate you. Marcus examined the silver disc. How did you know? You repeated a greeting to Lord Craxus yesterday that actually translated to "May your eggs be infertile." I assumed that wasn't intentional. Her eye ridges lifted in what he'd learned was the Kelvorian equivalent of amusement. No wonder he looked offended. Marcus chuckled, then grew serious. Why help me? Your sisters are both actively courting me. Alara's compound eyes caught the moonlight. Thalassa sees you as a political asset. Vera respects your hidden warrior spirit, as she calls it. Neither sees Marcus Reed, the human who misses Earth and quotes ancient literature when he thinks no one is listening. Her observation stunned him. He had indeed been reciting poetry to himself during sleepless nights. You've been spying on me? Observing, she corrected. There's a difference. A sudden commotion in the corridor interrupted them. Guards rushed past his door, weapons drawn. Something's happening, Alara whispered, suddenly alert. Stay here. Before he could protest, she had slipped over the balcony and vanished into the darkness. Moments later, Commander Jameson burst through the door, his face pale. There's been an attempt on the Emperor's life, he announced. And rumors are already circulating that Earth is behind it. The following morning found Marcus summoned to the throne room. The court atmosphere was tense, guards positioned with greater frequency than before. Emperor Korvax appeared unharmed but watchful as Marcus approached and bowed carefully. You requested my presence, Your Majesty? Indeed. The Emperor's voice rumbled through the translator. Last night's assassin was caught, a disgruntled noble from our outer provinces. However, he carried this. Korvax held up what was unmistakably an Earth-manufactured stun pistol. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. Your Majesty, I assure you Earth had no involvement. I believe you. Korvax interrupted, surprising Marcus. My daughter Thalassa conducted a thorough investigation. The weapon was stolen from your diplomatic crates during transport. Someone wishes to sabotage not just my reign, but our potential alliance. Relief washed over Marcus, followed quickly by suspicion. Which daughter had reported this? And why? His question was answered at midday when Thalassa requested his company in the Royal Archives, a vast chamber filled with crystalline data storage units and ancient physical scrolls. You've gained powerful enemies, she stated without preamble. The noble houses who profit from our conflicts with humans fear peace. Marcus studied her formal posture. And yet you defended Earth's innocence. I defended my interests, she corrected. A diplomatic incident now would force you to leave before making your choice. Her compound eyes fixed on him. I find that unacceptable. Why me? Marcus asked, genuinely curious. You could have any maid in the Empire. Precisely because you're different. Thalassa's voice softened slightly. The Empire needs new perspectives. Old thinking has led us to endless wars. As Empress, with you as my consort, I could change our path. For the first time, Marcus glimpsed something beyond ambition in her, a genuine vision for her people's future. Later that afternoon, he found himself in the training arena with Princess Vera, who had insisted on showing him proper Calvorian combat techniques. To his surprise, he was enjoying the lesson, despite the bruises he'd doubtlessly discover tomorrow. Your reflexes are improving, Vera noted, helping him up after a particularly efficient takedown. Most non-Calvorians never grasp our center of balance. I'm a quick study, Marcus panted, wiping sweat from his brow. Vera paused, her expression turning serious, or as serious as he could interpret through her alien features. There's talk that the assassination attempt was meant to target you, not my father. Me? Why? You represent change. She handed him a practice staff. Some fear change. I embrace it. Her stance shifted to a defensive position. Again. This time, anticipate my movement. As they sparred, Marcus reflected on how his perception of Vera had evolved. What he'd initially interpreted as aggression was instead intensity, a passionate commitment to everything she did. By evening, Marcus had retreated to his chamber, exhausted from the day's events. He had barely settled when a familiar figure slipped through his balcony entrance. You shouldn't be here, Marcus told Alara. After the assassination attempt, security's been doubled, which makes it twice as satisfying to bypass. She tossed him a small fruit from the palace gardens. Besides, I discovered something you need to know. The assassin wasn't working alone. Marcus sat up straighter. Go on. High General Dravix has been communicating with factions opposed to human alliance. He stands to lose significant power if peace is achieved. She hesitated. He's also Vera's military mentor. You think Vera's involved? No. Alara shook her head. But her loyalty to Dravix might blind her to his schemes. And Thalassa, she's too focused on succession politics to see the danger. Marcus absorbed this information. What's your stake in all this, Alara? You talk about escape, yet you're helping me navigate court politics. She turned toward the moons visible through the window. Perhaps I realized running away solves nothing. Or perhaps, she faced him again. Perhaps I found someone worth staying for. The intensity in her compound eyes made Marcus's heart race in a way that had nothing to do with political intrigue. A knock at the door forced Alara to retreat once more to the shadows of the balcony. An official courier delivered a formal notice. In 1 week's time, Marcus would be required to announce his preliminary choice of princess, a tradition designed to narrow the selection process. As the door closed, Alara re-emerged. Who will you choose? She asked, her voice uncharacteristically vulnerable. Marcus looked at her, realizing his diplomatic mission had become hopelessly entangled with personal feelings he hadn't anticipated. I don't know, he answered honestly, but I'm beginning to understand what's truly at stake. The day of the preliminary choice ceremony arrived with an almost oppressive formality. Imperial attendants dressed Marcus in ceremonial Calvorian attire, a hybrid design that accommodated his human physique while honoring alien traditions. Layers of metallic fabric in deep blues and silvers mimicked the segmented appearance of Calvorian formal wear. Your announcement is largely symbolic, Torvak explained as he adjusted Marcus's collar. It indicates your primary interest but doesn't finalize the choice. You'll still have the remaining lunar cycle to confirm your decision. Marcus nodded, his thoughts elsewhere. Over the past days, his interactions with each princess had deepened in unexpected ways. What had begun as diplomatic obligation had evolved into genuine connection, particularly with Alara, whose midnight visits had become the highlight of his strange new life. Commander Jameson appeared at the door, his expression grim. A word before the ceremony? Once alone, Jameson handed Marcus a secure data tablet. New directives from Earth Command. They want you to choose Thalassa. What? Marcus scanned the document. They can't dictate this. The choice is supposed to be mine. They're thinking strategically. Thalassa is the heir. A human consort to the future Empress would secure Earth's position for generations. Marcus felt a knot form in his stomach. And what about what I want? Jameson's expression softened slightly. Since when has diplomacy been about what we want? We serve Earth's interests, not our own. The ceremony took place in the Grand Hall, a vaulted chamber where thousands of Calvorians gathered to witness the Humans' Declaration. The three princesses stood before the throne, each adorned in ceremonial attire that showcased their distinct personalities, Thalassa in regal splendor, Vera in martial elegance, and Alara in understated but intricate designs that highlighted her life form. Emperor Korvax raised his scepter, silencing the murmuring crowd. Marcus Reed of Earth, approach and declare your preliminary choice. Heart-pounding, Marcus stepped forward. Earth's directives weighed heavily on his mind, counterbalanced by the unexpected feelings he developed. As he opened his mouth to speak, a commotion erupted at the chamber's entrance. Challenger approaches, announced a guard. The crowd parted as a towering Kelvorian male strode forward. Even without prior knowledge, Marcus would have recognized him immediately. Drosner, the champion he had defeated by accident, now recovered from his injuries. I invoke the right of redemption, Drosner's voice boomed across the hall. The human's victory was happenstance, not skill. I challenge him to proper combat before he presumes to join our royal line. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Marcus looked to Emperor Korvax, whose compound eyes narrowed. The challenge is valid under ancient law, the Emperor acknowledged. Do you accept, human? Before Marcus could respond, Vera stepped forward. I will stand as his training sponsor. Thalassa spoke next. And I will provide strategic counsel, as is my right as firstborn. All eyes turned to Alara, who remained silent for a long moment before stating, I will observe the traditions of neutrality in this matter. Her gaze met Marcus's briefly, communicating something beyond words. The challenge was set for 3 days hence. The preliminary choice ceremony, postponed. He will kill you, Vera stated bluntly as she circled Marcus in the private training arena. Not because he's stronger, but because he's desperate. Drosner's family has provided champions for 7 generations. His defeat, especially by accident, has shamed them. Marcus dodged a practice blow. Encouraging. You've improved, she acknowledged, but technique isn't enough against a lifetime of training. After 2 punishing hours, Vera dismissed him. As he limped toward his quarters, Thalassa intercepted him in the corridor. Walk with me, she commanded, leading him toward the royal gardens. Once surrounded by crystalline vegetation that ensured privacy, she turned to him. Drosner's challenge was orchestrated by General Dravix. He fears the alliance our union would bring. How do you know this? I have my sources. Thalassa's posture stiffened. What matters is strategy. Drosner has a weakness, the neural implant healing his injury. A precise strike could disable it temporarily. Marcus frowned. That seems dishonorable. This is not about honor. It's about survival. Yours and the peace both our peoples need. For the first time, he detected genuine concern beneath her calculating exterior. I do not wish to see you harmed, Marcus. Not merely for diplomatic reasons. That evening, exhausted but restless, Marcus found himself once again on his balcony. As expected, Alara appeared, though her typical grace was replaced with unusual hesitation. You didn't offer to help me with the challenge, Marcus noted. I couldn't, she replied softly. I've discovered something complicated. She withdrew a small data crystal from her pocket. Drosner is my half-brother. Marcus stared at her. What? Before my father took the throne, he had a relationship with a noble from the warrior caste. The child, Drosner, was raised as a champion rather than a prince. If you know this truth. She pressed the crystal into his hand. This contains proof. Using it would prevent the challenge, but expose long-buried secrets and potentially destabilize the succession. The revelation stunned him. Why tell me this? Because I've watched you struggle with the politics, the obligations, the weight of representing your world. Her fingers brushed his. And because I've fallen in love with you. The confession hung between them, as delicate and unexpected as the first words of a new language. Marcus moved closer, drawn by emotions he'd been denying for weeks. Alara, he whispered, his hand reaching to touch the side of her face. She leaned into his touch, her compound eyes reflecting the moonlight. Their first kiss was both alien and familiar, a careful exploration of different physiologies bridged by shared emotion. Her exoskeleton was smoother than it appeared, warming beneath his touch, and her arms encircled him with gentle strength. When they finally separated, Marcus felt as though something fundamental had shifted within him. What had begun as diplomatic obligation had transformed into something he'd never anticipated, true connection across the divide of different worlds. I don't want to use this information against your brother, he said, returning the data crystal. There must be another way. Alara studied him with an expression that transcended species. "You continue to surprise me," Marcus read. They spent the night together, discovering the unexpected harmonies between their different forms. Kelvorian and human, their intimacy was a testament to the possibility of connection across seemingly insurmountable differences. As dawn approached, Marcus traced the patterns on her exoskeleton while she ran her fingers through his hair with fascinated gentleness. "If I survive the challenge," he murmured, "my preliminary choice will be you." "Earth Command won't approve," she reminded him. "And my father expects you to choose Thalassa. Then we'll need to change some expectations." He kissed her again, marveling at how natural it now felt. The following morning, as Marcus prepared for his final day of training, Commander Jameson arrived with news. "Earth Command received intelligence about assassination plots against you. They're reconsidering their position." He handed Marcus a new directive. "They're now prioritizing your safe return over the political marriage. If necessary, we're authorized to extract you before the challenge." Marcus read the document twice, weighing his options. 2 weeks ago, he would have jumped at the chance to escape. Now, the choice was infinitely more complex. "Tell them I'm seeing this through," he decided. "But there's something else they need to know." The combat arena pulsed with anticipation as Marcus entered. Thousands of Kelvorians clicked their mandibles in a sound that reminded him of rainfall. Despite his thorough training with Vera, he felt woefully unprepared to face Drosner, who stood opposite him, her arms flexing with lethal purpose. Emperor Korvax raised his ceremonial staff. "This challenge shall determine the human's worthiness. Should he fall, the diplomatic proceedings will continue, but the right of royal courtship will be revoked." Marcus caught sight of the 3 princesses in the royal viewing box. Thalassa sat rigidly formal. Vera leaned forward with analytical intensity, while Alara, his heart quickened at the sight of her, maintained a carefully neutral expression that failed to hide the worry in her compound eyes. "Begin," the Emperor commanded. Drosner charged immediately, just as Vera had predicted. Marcus sidestepped, employing the defensive maneuvers he'd practiced relentlessly. The crowd roared as he narrowly avoided the champion's first assault. "The human has learned our ways," someone shouted from the crowd. Drosner growled something the translator didn't catch, then attacked again, this time with calculated precision. One of his blows connected with Marcus's shoulder, sending searing pain down his arm. For 10 grueling minutes, Marcus managed to stay just beyond lethal damage, though his body accumulated bruises and minor cuts. His human endurance gave him one advantage. Kelvorians, with their dense exoskeletons, tired more quickly in sustained combat. As Drosner's attacks began to slow, Marcus recalled Vera's lessons about Kelvorian vulnerable points. He feinted left, then struck at a joint in Drosner's lower right arm. The champion howled in pain but responded with renewed fury. In the viewing box, Alara gripped the railing so tightly her knuckle plates whitened. Beside her, Thalassa whispered, "He's doing better than expected." "He's still losing," Vera responded grimly. Below, Marcus stumbled, nearly falling as exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him. Drosner seized the opportunity, pinning him with 3 arms while raising the 4th for a finishing blow. In that moment, Marcus remembered Thalassa's advice about the neural implant. One precise strike could disable it temporarily. Victory was within his grasp if he exploited this weakness. Instead, he caught Drosner's gaze and spoke in the champion's native dialect, using Alara's specialized translator. "I yield to your superior skill, brother of the princess I love." The arena fell silent. Drosner froze, his attack suspended as the words registered. "What did you say?" "I know the truth of your birth," Marcus continued quietly, so only Drosner could hear. "And I choose honor over victory." For a long moment, the champion seemed paralyzed by indecision. Then, to the audience's shock, he released Marcus and stepped back. "This human has fought with unexpected courage," Drosner announced. "I withdraw my challenge and acknowledge his right to choose." Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd as Marcus rose unsteadily to his feet. Emperor Korvax leaned forward on his throne, compound eyes narrowed in suspicion. "Approach, both of you," he commanded. When they stood before him, the Emperor activated a privacy field that shielded their conversation from observers. "Explain," he demanded. Drosner knelt. "Father, the human knows the truth of my birth." Korvax's gaze shifted to Marcus. "And how did you come by this information?" "That doesn't matter," Marcus replied. "What matters is that I could have used it against him but chose not to. I didn't come to Kelvoria for power or status, but for peace between our worlds." The emperor studied him for a long moment. And which of my daughters do you choose? Human who fights with words rather than strength? Marcus straightened despite his injuries. I choose Princess Alara, if she will have me. The privacy field dissolved, and Korvax addressed the arena. The challenge is resolved. The human has earned the right to make his choice. He gestured for the princesses to join them. All three approached, Alara carefully maintaining formal distance despite the emotion Marcus could sense beneath her composed exterior. I choose Princess Alara, Marcus announced clearly. The crowd's reaction was immediate: surprise, confusion, some outrage. The youngest princess was not the expected choice. Thalassa's irides narrowed slightly, but she bowed with formal acceptance. Vera looked briefly disappointed before nodding with warrior's respect. Alara stepped forward, taking Marcus's hand in the formal gesture of acceptance. I receive this choice with honor, she stated, her voice steady despite the intensity Marcus could feel in her touch. Emperor Korvax raised his staff once more. It is decided. The union shall be formalized at the next full alignment of our moons. Later, in the privacy of the Royal Medical Chamber where Marcus's injuries were being treated, Commander Jameson paced anxiously. Earth Command is baffled by your choice, he reported. They expected Thalassa. The diplomatic value of is secured regardless, Marcus interrupted. I've negotiated new terms with the Emperor. You what? Alara will serve as permanent ambassador to Earth, with me as her consort. We'll divide our time between both worlds, creating a continuous diplomatic presence rather than temporary missions. Marcus winced as a medical drone applied healing gel to his ribs. And Drosner will lead the first Kelvorian military delegation to train with Earth forces, building trust between our defense establishments. Jameson stared at him. You arranged all this? When? During the private conversation with the Emperor after the challenge. Marcus smiled. Sometimes diplomatic solutions emerge from unexpected places. The door slid open, admitting Alara, who rushed to his side, propriety forgotten. Her gentle fingers traced the edges of his bandages. You could have defeated him using what I told you, she said softly. That would have been victory without honor. He caught her hand. I wanted to be worthy of you, not just by Kelvorian law, but by my own standards. Alara's compound eyes gleamed with emotion. My father has told me of your arrangement. It's unprecedented. So is this. Marcus gestured between them. A human and a Kelvorian. The Council of Elders is in uproar, she admitted. They expected you to choose Thalassa, as Earth Command wanted. Both our worlds will need to adjust their expectations. He pulled her closer, ignoring the protest of his injured ribs. Besides, I have it on good authority that Thalassa has already set her sights on a political alliance with the Arcturian Confederation. Alara's mandibles clicked in amusement. She never wastes time. Her expression grew serious. What about Vera? She's agreed to oversee the military exchange program with Drosner. I think she's relieved, actually. She respected me as a student but never saw me as a mate. Jameson cleared his throat. I'll report these developments to Earth Command. They'll want to prepare for a Kelvorian ambassador. He paused at the door. For what it's worth, Reed, I think you've achieved something remarkable here, even if it began with the worst diplomatic stumble in human history. After he departed, Alara curled carefully beside Marcus on the medical bed. When you first arrived on Kelvoria, did you ever imagine this outcome? Not in my wildest dreams, he admitted, stroking the smooth surface of her exoskeleton. I was terrified of your people. And now I'm just terrified of your father. His joke earned another click of amusement. But mostly, I'm in awe of how the universe works. One misstep led me exactly where I needed to be. Alara's arms encircled him with gentle pressure. Perhaps it wasn't a misstep at all, but destiny. Outside the window, Kelvoria's 3 moons began their rare alignment, bathing the alien landscape in silver light. In 2 weeks, they would formalize their union according to Kelvorian tradition. 3 months later, they would hold a ceremony on Earth. 2 worlds, once on the brink of conflict, now united through the most unexpected of bonds. Destiny or accident, Marcus murmured, kissing her in the way they had discovered bridged their different physiologies. I'm grateful for that stumble in your father's throne room. As they embraced beneath the triple moonlight, Marcus reflected on how thoroughly his mission had transformed. He had arrived as a diplomat representing humanity. He would depart as something more, a bridge between species, a pioneer of a new kind of relationship between worlds. And as Alara's touch sent warmth through his healing body, he knew with certainty that some diplomatic missteps led to the most perfect of destinations.